Most emotional eating doesn't actually start with food. That's just when you notice it. What's usually happening is a buildup across a few different systems inside your body, and food just becomes the fastest way to bring things down. So let me walk you through it in a way that actually makes sense in your real life. First is what I'll call your state system. So your body is constantly shifting, right? Between calm, alert, stressed, focused, tired. That's normal. But when life stacks on too many inputs, so you've got work and messages and decisions, emotional friction, you start drifting towards this higher stress state without even realizing it sometimes. And on a nervous system level, there are these fast pathways that can help you reset that state. One of them involves nerves in your face and head that connect directly to the part of your brain that controls whether you are calm versus activated. Things like cold water on your face or even cold air can trigger that shift. What that means is your body has this built-in reset button, more or less, and sensory input like cold can press it. So that's why something as simple as splashing cold water on your face can sometimes interrupt that rising urge to eat. It's not for distraction, really. It's more about physically changing your internal state before that urge will peak. Second is mental load. Your brain is basically a processor. So every decision, conversation, task, and notification uses bandwidth, right? And as that fills up, your ability to pause and choose what you want to do goes down because there's less room left for all of that decision making. So this is why emotional eating often shows up at very predictable times. It's the end of work, it's the transition into the evening, it's after you've put the kids to bed, it's after a long stretch of multitasking, it's when your system finally drops from holding everything together into, I need relief. A very practical takeaway here is that the transitions matter a lot more than you probably think. So if you go from really high output straight into home life, let's just say, without any buffer, then your system will carry that forward. So even something like a 5 to 10 minute walk, just standing outside for a minute or two or doing something repetitive with your hands can act as this buffer. It gives your brain a chance to offload before food becomes the easiest relief valve. Third is learned patterning. So your brain is constantly tracking what has worked before in order to change how you feel. If eating has reliably brought things like relief or calm or grounding, your brain will start predicting that outcome faster over time. That's what an urge actually is most of the time. It's your brain anticipating a familiar way in order to feel better. So the goal isn't to remove the food in the moment or just fight that prediction. It's to make sure that your body has other experiences that also reliably shift your state the way that it might want to. So things like short walks, breath changes, sensory resets, or even just stepping away from any kind of input for a moment if you can. Over time, your brain starts to build this wider menu, you could say, of ways to regulate. Fourth is your brain's reward system, specifically dopamine, which most people completely overlook when it comes to eating. Dopamine is often thought of as being about pleasure, but it's really not. It's actually about motivation, anticipation, and drive, and those things feel pleasurable. It's when you want to do something or get to something. And when dopamine signaling is off, or your brain is just used to getting quick, intense hits from things like super palatable foods or our cell phones, then your drive to seek out those foods will go up because your brain is doing exactly what it was wired to do: chase reward. So this is where emotional eating often lives. It's not just a comfort thing. It's also your brain trying to regulate itself through fast dopamine. The interesting part is that things like strength training, walking, sunlight, and even building momentum into your day so that you can get little hits of dopamine from progress can help to recalibrate that system. So they provide this more stable, earned dopamine signals, if you will, instead of these quick spikes and crashes. So over time, it's not just that you are more disciplined, it's that your brain isn't constantly pulling you toward food for a hit. So your baseline dopamine and your baseline drive becomes steadier, and your relationship with food starts to feel a lot less reactive. So when you put all of this together, emotional eating isn't just one thing, right? It's the result of multiple systems, multiple things stacking up. Your internal stress state is rising, your mental load is reducing available bandwidth, your brain is predicting relief based on past patterns, and your physiology is looking for a way to regulate. Food just happens to be the fastest, most reliable option your system has learned. which is why trying to fix it only in the moment that it happens usually doesn't work well. By the time you're being called to the bag of chips or the ice cream, the system has already been building towards this moment for hours, at least. What actually changes things is learning to notice a little bit earlier. So when your system starts to feel slightly more compressed, when you are more reactive than usual, when transitions just feel a little bit stickier or heavier than they should, that's the window where intervention actually will work. And it doesn't have to be complicated. Sometimes it's really just a matter of splashing some cold water on your face or sticking your face in the freezer. Sometimes it's a short walk before you go into the house. Sometimes it's lifting heavy things consistently enough that your system feels more stable overall. Sometimes it's just giving yourself a few minutes without any input. So these can be small things, but when they're placed earlier in the sequence, they can be really, really effective. When I work with clients and members on this, it's usually a shift that changes everything. We don't need to try harder at the moment of eating, but finally seeing what was happening before that moment even showed up. And once you can see that clearly, it stops feeling like something that you're constantly reacting to, that you're constantly at the mercy of. It stops feeling like it has so much control over you and starts feeling like something that you can actually work with earlier in the day. And when that changes, food loses a lot of that control that it tends to have right now because your system doesn't need it as a tool in the same way anymore.